Why is spoken English so difficult to understand? It's a question we talk about a lot in our conversation classes. Because most people learn English to speak English. Yet spoken English is also the biggest reason why many people stop learning English. Because when they don't understand what they hear, they think it's because they're not very good at English. So let's begin by saying that understanding spoken English is difficult, and you are not the problem. There is, in fact, a lot of really useful information that helps to make sense of spoken English, but unfortunately, most of it is ignored because grammar is seen as more important. So we decided to write a book that contains all of that really useful information. We've called it the Schwa, The Secret to Speaking English, named after a spoken English sound which probably causes more problems than any other, the schwa. In fact, the schwa exists to make English much easier to speak, but not if English isn't your first language. In the book, there are 3 themes, and those themes run throughout the book. The schwa, other curious pronunciations, and conversation. They're all designed to show you how to improve your understanding of spoken English. So let's start with the first theme, the schwa, and find out how it causes most of the problems. Firstly, the schwa is the most common sound in spoken English. It's a vowel sound, but one which is much more common than all other vowel sounds because it can actually replace those other vowel sounds. It replaces them with its own sound, a simple And unfortunately, that sound doesn't really give you much information about the letter that's being pronounced, so your knowledge of written English doesn't really help. In fact, the schwa is a very effective way of making English much easier to speak. It just needs a little practice. But first you need to know where the schwa can be found, which isn't easy. Don't worry, our book is going to make it a lot easier. Here are 3 words. You may already know how to pronounce them. About, around, again. The a sound that you read is actually pronounced as an sound, the schwa. Now you might think, okay, so every word that begins with an a sound is pronounced with an sound instead. That's really simple. Unfortunately not. As we already know, the schwa can replace all vowels, but it can also replace vowel combination. And they can be at the beginning of words, in the middle of words, and at the end of words. And occasionally, the schwa can replace whole words. But you can study this in many other books. So what's so special about our book? Well, first of all, we show you where the schwas are in over 2,000 examples, underlined on every page in the book. You won't find that in any other book or on any other website. Why is it useful? Because there aren't any rules to tell you where a schwa is used. Most books show you 1 or 2 examples. The rest, you're just expected to find out for yourself. But we don't just list them like many websites do. Instead, we organise them into useful phrases, over 600 of them, so you can start to see the schwa in context and begin to see the schwa's real job, to make English easier to pronounce. And of course, hearing the schwa in action is also very helpful, so every phrase is recorded at normal conversational speed, which is the best way to hear the schwa, as you'll hear it in real life.
Can I get her to call you back?
If you practice by just listening and repeating, you'll be speaking at normal conversation speed yourself, which solves a big part of the problem that many students face. The second theme in the book is dealing with other pronunciation problems, particularly when you try to speak English using written English. You'll find the phrases are organised into chapters that each focus on 1 of 22 sounds or phonemes. In the previous phrase, you will have seen 2 words highlighted. The schwa isn't the only sound that causes confusion in English. In this example, the chapter focuses on the or sound. The word highlighted, in bold, is call. You can see 4 other words on the same page, and each word spells the or sound differently. This is another significant reason why spoken English is confusing. Now you can see why it's confusing and begin to realize that it's not confusing anymore. You know what the problem is. In the same example, the word her is highlighted in grey. This is a weak form, which means it is rarely pronounced her. And in this case, it's also one of the words we talked about earlier, a whole word that becomes a schwa. Listen again.
Can I get her to call you back?
There's a whole section describing 40 other very common weak forms, words that are pronounced very differently in conversation to the way they're pronounced on their own. And if that isn't enough, you can start to get really advanced with word linking. Word linking will highlight two other problems in English pronunciation: why some sentences sound like one continuous word, and where other words that link together seem to change their sound completely. And finally in this theme, there's intonation, where you'll begin to understand why weak forms exist and how powerful they can be when they become strong, completely changing the meaning of a sentence. The final theme is the most important part of the book, actual conversation, where you get the chance to practice what you've learned. Because every phrase is taken from a real conversation, there's a story behind every phrase. Most phrasebooks use phrases that introduce a conversation. Most of our phrases come from the middle of a conversation, which provides endless opportunities to talk using your own life experience, which is all conversation is about. Only now, you're pronouncing it using all of the sounds and techniques that native English speakers use when they speak, just like real English conversation, the kind of conversation you thought you'd never understand. So if you want to take the next step forward toward much more effective English speaking, start learning with the Schwa, the secret to speaking English. It's available from Amazon stores in print format with audio files you can listen to on your phone or tablet, and an ebook format for the Amazon Kindle. And if you come to the Bard's Language School Facebook page, I'll be available to help answer any questions you have about the Schwa, and you can also receive updates and book offers during the year as we post them. So that's it. The Schwa, the secret to learning English. Everything you need to understand spoken English. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and that you found it useful. Bye.